Hi, I'm Ailish Forfar. A little bit about myself. I attended Dartmouth College, where I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in English and Geography, and also played NCAA Division I hockey there. And then after I graduated in 2016, I came back home to Toronto, where I studied at Ryerson University and got another Bachelor of Arts in RTA Sport Media. Also played hockey for the Ryerson Rams. And then in terms of my work experience, kind of really started when I came back home after my first college experience. I started working for TSN. I worked for Sportsnet. I worked for Yahoo Sports Canada, The Score. I also worked for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Blue Jays. I've also worked for the International Paralympic Committee. And I will soon be working for the IIHF, covering the World Championships in May. And all my roles have actually been quite diverse. So I've done on-air roles, I've done writing roles, content creation, producing, basically just a toolbox full of whatever they need me to do. I'll be able to jump in there. And I think the reason I've been so successful in my young career is because, as a former athlete and a media professional, I think I can really mesh my diverse view on sports and how to properly broadcast those on the teams that I've been a part of. So that's kind of a little bit about me. This one really bothers me because social media is like the most simple, free thing that we can be doing. So it's so easy to be putting women's sports on social media. That's where, young audiences are consuming the most news. So when I hear something about a 4% of sports outlets covering women's sports, it's very frustrating. There are a lot of great companies such as the GIST that are women's driven, women's sports networks. But if I'm someone that doesn't want to consume that media, I just won't follow that. So it doesn't really fall on platforms such as that. It falls on the big platforms such as TSN, ESPN, Sportsnet that have that male dominated space. And I think the kind of rooting issue of this is that they're not hiring the correct diverse voices that see that there's a problem with just having male sports on their social media pages. And I think the power of social media is so important, as we just saw with Women's March Madness. One player speaks out about the discrimination happening between the men's and women's March Madness tournaments, and the next day something can change. So we know that social media can be a great platform for female athletes, but it does fall on the bigger networks to hire the correct voices, to hire that diverse, network that knows, hey, we need to change something. It does start kind of from who you're hiring and who you're having in your boardroom making decisions. As a former hockey player, I'm always inspired to see like little tidbits of NHL teams sharing, whether it's just them wearing a hoodie or tweeting back and forth with social media accounts that are women's hockey teams. But bare minimum there. I think the biggest thing that we're seeing is some NHL teams starting to jump on board with hosting weekend showcases. And that is where you're going to see sustainable change. You're going to have the women playing in an arena that is world-class with world-class broadcast networks. Those networks such as the New York Rangers, who already have millions of followers, all they have to do is say, hey, today there's females playing at the exact same MSG. Here's how you can watch it. And there's that outreach right there. What we want to see as a supporter of women's hockey is major networks realizing that by putting the female game on TV, it's becoming accessible. You're driving viewership. People want it more. So I think, I don't want to say it's all on the NHL. They do have the market, they do have the fans, but I think it's NHL teams supporting growing the game and supporting, networks also buying in, being like, let's put this on television where millions of people can just flick on their TV and watch it. I grew up not seeing any accessible female role models that play hockey. Only the Olympics every 4 years was when I could, pick a favorite player, watch them for a week, and then wait until the next time that they're on the Olympic stage. So I didn't see a lot of females excelling like me in elite hockey. So now there are so many female role models that are pro players, college players, Olympians, national team players, or just washed up beer leaguers. Like, having the opportunity to volunteer your time to youth teams, to speaking, to having camps, it's just so important to be able to interact with young girls and young boys that want to play hockey growing up. And when I played for the CWHL, the best part about it was after the game, going into the lobby and seeing the young girls and boys that wanted to talk to a pro hockey player, someone that they could never really access if they went to a Toronto Maple Leafs game and wanted to talk to Mitch Marner. So we were there. We could talk to the girls. We could talk to the boys. I think, it does fall on some of the athletes to give back and to really realize that one interaction can really just keep a girl in sports, but also, whether it's a major team like a Toronto Maple Leafs, knowing that let's not just run camps for young boys, let's run camps for young girls and just try to keep that inspiration going, because it's come a long way since I was a young girl, but I still think that we can just be, infiltrating youth teams and schools and trying to be as accessible as possible. I think over the last year or two, hockey has been exposed in a way that I think a lot of people just turn a blind eye to. Hockey is a very privileged sport. It's an expensive sport to play. I grew up playing with only white men, white women when I got a little bit older. It's so elitist. And I think that this change needs to happen to try to find more diverse, more areas and give that outreach to grassroots organizations. We need to be able to change the hockey culture. There are a lot of podcasts or famous voices in hockey that we don't need to be amplifying. We do not need to be, singling out one type of person that can be an elite hockey player. I think that finding a way to make the game more diverse means trying to allow fans and players from all different backgrounds to actually feel cared about in the hockey space. I mean, growing up, you watch the players on the ice and you watch the players broadcasting, and the people involved in the sport of hockey, from the GM down to the coach, are all the same type of person, and that needs to change. And I think the biggest thing that we can do, and something that I'm actually helping with my old AAA boys team, so we're going to start trying to start these life lessons in youth hockey, because I don't think I can go into the Toronto Maple Leafs dressing room and change the mindset of a 35, 40-year-old player. But I think I could go and talk to a tyke or a novice player and start to explain where the homophobia comes, talk about BIPOC people in sports, try to amplify those voices. Let's try to change the children of the next generation while they're in that vulnerable and impressionable state where we can really make a difference. And I think that's where youth organizations need to be starting that dialogue a little bit younger, because by the time someone is a college athlete, a lot of this stuff is already rooted in their, mindset of what it is to be a hockey player and where I feel safe as a fan of hockey. This is a topic that, obviously, as someone that works in the sport industry and, has had opportunities on air, it's frustrating because it's hard to not feel like it's performative when you get an opportunity, or when you see somebody get an opportunity. And this is also where I think we need to start giving people a position, internships, school programs like Ryerson Sport Media. Let's start diversifying who we give a foot in the door to. And I feel like a lot of times people getting a foot in the door are getting that opportunity because of somebody they know that has given them the opportunity. And if we want to have women and BIPOC individuals to have skills to be on the same level as all these white men that have these roles, they need to be trained at an earlier part of their life. I would never want to be thrown into a position where I feel like I'm only being given this role as a female and I don't feel qualified. There are so many qualified people that are just not getting opportunities. And that's where we change the narrative by allowing for these voices to get the proper training and seeking them. Because a lot of, if I look at Ryerson Sport Media, very male dominated and very white, I was a female. I would have loved to see a little bit more focus on recruiting people of diverse voices to even just start a college program. And I was thinking the other day about, or it was about 2 weeks ago, where it was International Women's Day. And there's a radio station, a sports radio station that I listen to quite often. And they had a full panel of female people on the show that day. And they kept tweeting about, we have this person, this person, this person. And I've looked almost every single day since, where are those female voices that you had during International Women's Day? And that to me is performative. You know that there's one day a year that we're going to look and we're going to, highlight females. We're going to try to be diverse, but it's very easy to continue to have those voices in your program. And I've been looking every day wondering where they are. Obviously, they were qualified, skilled females to have on your panel for that specific day. And now they're no longer given that opportunity. So it's just thinking like, do we do something for one day, or do we do something every day and start changing this narrative that we're going to celebrate you today and then see you next year. Leadership. I mean leadership in the way of the people that are making the decisions is what needs to change. Accountability. I mean, I feel like I've heard that word in so many different, as an athlete, especially be accountable as a teammate, be accountable, show up to every single day, willing to give it all you got as an athlete. But what I think now when I think of accountability is knowing that, okay, we're going to make mistakes, we're human, but owning up to those errors and, taking the initiative to grow and to make sure those mistakes don't happen in the future is what I see as accountability. And also in terms of moving forward in sport media, like listening and actually amplifying the voices of people that can teach and can be a part of the solution is what I see the word accountability meaning. Every day you should be thinking about how you can hold yourself accountable as well, and the company you work for, the team you're a part of. And if you're able to kind of show up with that mindset that we're all going to grow and be a team, I think that's where accountability comes into play. If I look at diversity from a team perspective, I think every individual has a very unique voice. And I personally want to surround myself with different types of people, because just learning and listening to the same perspective isn't going to challenge us, and that we're not going to grow or learn. And then if I think about inclusion, sport has taught me some of the most incredible life lessons in terms of relationships, personal growth, leadership. And if we're not allowing for people to be included in sport, it's kind of a disservice to our community and our world to only just allow for some people to have that type of growth from being included in these conversations. For me, it all comes back to the people that you're putting in the decision-making chair. So by giving somebody a seat at the table that wasn't even previously in the room, I think that is where we're going to find growth in the sport media world. By influencing and initiating change at a younger generation of athletes and media professionals, by amplifying diverse voices and hiring people of different backgrounds that isn't just performative, and honestly just being able to listen and learn and grow from your mistakes, take accountability for where you've fallen short, and just be consistent to wanting to show up and elevate the bar every single day.